Okay, guys, so we're going to do some more examples here. So we have an equation 23 plus x equals 33. We're going to still ask ourselves the same questions, and we're going to do everything the same way. Just follow along with me just for extra practice. So we're going to go ahead and separate down the middle. The reason we separate is because now it gives us two sides of the equation. We have the left side, which is 23 plus x. We have the right side, which is just 33. Now ask ourselves, who is our variable? Our variable is x. What is attached to x? 23. By what operation? Addition. What is the inverse of adding 23? The inverse would be to subtract 23 on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 23 here. I subtract 23 there. So positive 23 minus 23, they zero pair out. All you're left with is x equals 10. So that is your solution for your one-step equation. Now all I gotta do is just plug him back in, the value of x into the equation. So I have 23 plus x. What is x? X is 10. Does that equal 33? Yes, that equals 33. That is a true statement. So then I know that this value right here, x equals 10, is correct. Okay. Our next one is 26 equals p minus 17. So we go ahead and we still separate it down the middle, or separate down the equal sign, making our left side of the equal sign 26, our right side p minus 17. And we ask ourselves, who is our variable? Our variable is p. We want to get p by himself. What is attached to p? 17. By what operation? Subtracting. Okay. So what is the opposite of subtracting 17? The opposite is, or inverse is adding 17. So I'm going to add 17 to this side, and I'm going to add 17 to this side. And so this subtracting 17 and adding 17, they zero pair out. All you're left with is p. Bring down your equal sign. 26 plus 17 is 43. Let's check to see if that is right. 43. Let's change my colors here. 26 equals p. What is p? 43 minus 17. 17 from 43 is 26. So 26 equals 26. It's both equal. It's both right. So that I know that this 43 equals p is correct. Okay. Here's another equation. 4x equals 8. That truly means 4 times x equals 8. What times x equals 8? Well, we already know that in our head, but we have to actually show it on paper. Okay, so we still go ahead and we separate it down the middle. So we have on our left side 4 times x. On our right side we have 8. Okay. We ask ourselves those questions again. Who is our variable? X. What is attached to x? 4. By what operation? Multiplication. What is the opposite of multiplying by 4? The opposite is to divide by 4. So I'm going to divide. And remember, we showed the division by a fraction bar. If you need to, you can put the fraction bar and a dot on top and a dot on bottom to tell yourself that's how you're dividing. And we put 4 underneath. We put 4 underneath. 4 over 4 is a whole 1. So that gives you 1x equals, how many times can 4 go into 8? Or 8 divided by 4 is 2. So you have x equals 2 as your answer. And let's come over here and check it. That's 4. We're going to replace your x with 2. Does that give you 8? Does 8 equal 8? Yes, it does, so I know my answer is correct. Okay, this problem says z divided by 14 equals 2. Okay, so again, we're going to go ahead and still separate our equation down the middle. And that is saying z divided by 14 equals 2. Remember, he's at the bottom, so you divide by 14, so the opposite would be to multiply by 14. I'm going to do it two ways, okay? I'm going to do it the first way, which is the way that we normally do it. I'm going to multiply by showing the parentheses, 14 and 14. That's 14 over 1 times z over 14 equals 2 times 14. 14 times z is 14z. 1 times 14 is 14. This gives you 1z equals 28. So z equals 28. The other way that I can show it to you was that other way that we did it. We just kind of write it out long ways. That's z divided by 14 equals 2. Throw them down the middle. What's the opposite of dividing? That's multiplying by 14. Multiply by 14. Base 0 pair out, and you're left with z equals 28. It's still the same way, just which way you want to do it. I do recommend that you do it this way, just because when we start clearing fractions, that's how you need to know how to do it. A negative variable, whenever you see a negative variable in front of a number, or it's understood that there's a -1 in front of it. So when you're solving for an unknown, you never want your final answer to be like negative variable equals a number. You never want it to look like this, negative x equals 6, okay? Because you're not done, because that's a -1 equals 6. And our whole process was for us to have x, one positive x equals a number, okay? So this one's wrong. So anytime that you have a negative variable, you need to do one more step, and you divide by -1. So you get rid of that negative by divided by -1. So example, if you have this negative x equals 5, you would still separate them down the middle. Okay. And that is really saying -1x -1x equals 5, right? Okay, what's attached to that x? -1 by what operation? Multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplication? Would be divide. So we're going to divide by -1. Divide by -1, divide by -1. And so you're left with x equals -5. Okay, that's your answer. Okay, because when we check it, that's -1 times -5. That equal a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so here's an example, another example. We separate them down the middle. We have our variable of -y. And the opposite, and attached to -y is 1 by adding 1. So the opposite of adding 1 would be to subtract 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from this side, subtract 1 from this side. That 0 pairs out right there. So you're left with -y equals 8. We're not done. Normally we would have been done, but our variables in the past were all positive. This is a -y, so I have to do one more step, which is to divide by -1, divide by -1. So the negative and the negative cross out. Now you're just left with y equals negative divided by positive is a negative. 1 goes into 8 times. So the answer is -8. So if you put this back up here, and you check, that would be -8, -8 plus 1. The reason that's that negative was because remember that y is the only thing that we're replacing. We're replacing that y with the negative 8, there's that negative that's in front of it. So negative and a negative equals positive plus 1 is 9. That's correct. Okay, so here are some other problems here. That should have been this one. This first one is wrong. Scratch that guy out. This first one should have been 16 equals 4b. Okay, what do I do with that? Separate them down the middle. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. So your answer is 4 equals b, right? Do the next one here. Okay, my next one would be 20. It's not showing up. Okay, so the next one would be 20 equals 5c. What's attached to my c? 5. By what operation? Multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplying by 5? Divided by 5. Split them down the middle. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. And I get 4 equals c. Okay, plug it back in. Does 5 times 4 equals 20? Yes, that's correct. Okay. Let me do the next one. Let me clear this screen off. Okay. The next one would be keep changing. Hold on. 5 equals d over 8. Okay. Remember that right here, that is saying that we're dividing by 8, right? Okay, so let's split them down the middle. And the opposite of dividing by 8 is to multiply by 8. Parentheses means multiply. 8 multiply by 8. Okay. This right here, d divided by 8 is a fraction. This 8 over here is just a whole number 8. If I put them over 1, that's a fraction. So now I multiply. So d times 8 is 8d. 1 times 8 is 8. 8 over 8 gives you 1. So you're left with 1d on this side. On the left side, 8 times 5 is 40. So your answer is 40 equals d. Now let's check that out and make sure that that's correct. If I go back and I plug that in, that would be 40 divided by 8 is 5. Is that a true statement? Yes, that's a true statement. So then we know that we did it right. Okay. The next problem is 11. 11 equals s divided by 2. Same thing. So we are dividing by s. I'm sorry, we're dividing by 2. By 2. So the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiply by 2. Multiply by 2. On your right side, that's a fraction. I'm multiplying by a whole number, so I got to change it to a fraction. So s times 2 is 2s. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 gives you a whole 1. So you're left with 1s. And then 2 times 11 on the left side is 22. Okay. So your answer is s equals 22. Plug that back in and make sure that's correct. 22 divided by 2 is that 11? Yes, that's correct. Okay, guys, so that's it for one-step equations. If you still need help, just go ahead and make sure you email me, and I'll be there as early as I can on Wednesday to help you. And so Wednesday, when we get in class, we're going to briefly review over this one step, go into two-step equations, multi-step equations, and the hardest one of all, which is clearing fractions. So just make sure you're there, okay? Thanks.